Since 93 Sports, back with another one. You know, for all you Keith Thurman fans out there, myself included, it's just getting harder and harder to, you know, defend this kind of behavior from a champion. That's all I can say, man. It's getting harder. And I want to talk about the interviewer for his recent fight hype interview, and we're gonna get into what was discussed during this interview. But I just want to say, we got to get some guys out here that, you know, have the power to where these fighters cannot you know, avoid them, and some interviewers that's gonna ask some real questions, because I guarantee you, if you get a big major company, major sports covering media out there, you know, if they got enough power, these fighters are not going to be able to avoid them if they ask them the tough questions. I guarantee you, if ESPN, the Bleacher Report, all these major sports outlets, if they got out there, they'd be able to answer these guys the real questions. But at the end of the day, these major sports outlets, they're casual fans. They don't even know half the stuff that's going on in boxing. So whenever they do interview a fighter anyway, they can't ask them the questions that we as the fans who really follow boxing want to know from the fighters. So on one hand, you can imagine why some of these interviewers are gonna, you know, not put their, put their foot to the pedal in a sense, and ask these guys the hard questions, you know, because if they ask them a tough question, they grill them, you know, the fighters are not gonna want to deal with them anymore. You know, a lot of people that don't follow the boxing voice, they don't know about the situation that went on between Nestor Gibbs and Kenny Porter and Sean Porter. Kenny Porter, now I don't know if Sean Porter had anything to do with this, but I know for sure Kenny Porter did. Kenny Porter had a grudge against the boxing voice, okay, because Nestor Gibbs picked against him in the Keith Thurman fight. Okay, it was for months and months. Nestor Gibbs had to kiss Kenny Porter's ass, okay, to get back on his good side and have the Porters do interviews with him. Okay, so you can understand why some of these interviewers, they don't want to ask these guys the tough questions, and that's a problem. You know, all these fucking media outlets need to get together, and if they work together, they can get these fighters to you know, answer, to not, you know, be like that. Because if some of these outlets don't cover these fighters, nobody's gonna know who these fighters are. You know, the major outlets, they're not covering a Sean Porter, a Keith Thurman. They're not really covering anybody outside of Canelo Alvarez, Triple G, Floyd Mayweather, and maybe there's a few other fighters that the major outlets are covering. But, you know, this needs to stop. And we seen, you know, the kind of shit some of these reporters got to deal with. You know, you got the boxing voice, Adrian Broner calling Nestor Gibbs a bitch ass nigga, and Nestor Gibbs is just ignoring it because the dudes want to stay cool with the fighters. And I'm just like, man, you know, that's why I couldn't be a part of this business, because, you know, I just wouldn't last long, man. It's too much disrespect, and it's just too much of you having to fake it to make it. You know, you can't ask these guys the real question that you want to know, and you walking on eggshells. You can't say this, but you don't want to piss this guy off, but you want to, you know, it's bullshit. But anyway, back into what I wanted to get into. I guess I believe Keith Thurman was at the Devin Alexander fight. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that's what fight he was at, and they interviewed him. And, you know, they start asking him about what's next, and he just goes into this tirade talking about he's the only welterweight, you know, that holds 2 titles right now, that's unified, and how he's, you know, unbeaten, and he has 2 titles, and no other welterweight can say that. And he's going on to say the Danny Garcia fight boosted his stock, and the injury only put him at a plateau. He hasn't gained or lost any stock or, you know, prestige as far as him being a draw. And I'd have to disagree with that. Lately, people have been talking about Keith Thurman But usually when Keith Thurman doesn't have a fight coming up, we're not talking about him. And the only reason why we're talking about him right now is because Errol Spence is calling him out left and right. And Showtime gave the both of them a platform, and they did the press conference. I want to say, I forgot what fight. Maybe it was the lead up to that big 154-pound card with all the top guys at 154. And you know, I'd have to disagree with that. Keith Thurman is one of the few unified champions in boxing, and he's got some good names on his resume, and he's really not as big as he should be, because first, he's not active enough, and he just don't sell himself. The only way we really know about him and hear about him is when he got some fight coming up, and something's wrong with that. And you know, they start asking about Errol Spence, and he obviously got annoyed. He's like, oh, here we go again with this. And he goes on to talk about how Errol Spence is not on his immediate to-do list, and basically saying we can't even discuss the fight. So he's just real annoyed with Errol Spence. And he's talking about how, you know, he has all these things to do. And, you know, the interviewer suggests, oh, that fight's probably not even going to happen till 2019. And, you know, he's trying to get back on Keith Thurman's good side, because he saw how annoyed Keith Thurman was when he even brought up Errol Spence's name. So, you know, that's with that interviewer shit, man. It's too much of that. You know, we need real interviewers out of here. And then, you know, the interviewers trying to, you know, talking about how, you know, that's not even realistic, you know, for him to be able to fight Errol Spence this year, how he got all these fucking mandatories, and they gotta fulfill mandatories a year. Well, if the motherfucker gets active, then he could get rid of all these fucking mandatories. Like, you got 2 belts, you got 2 mandatories to fulfill. You know, if you want to hold all these titles, you gotta be more active. You know, and everybody can't get the exemptions that Floyd Mayweather got when he was fighting. Okay, Floyd Mayweather, he generated so much money, he could dictate if he wanted to deal with the mandatory or not, because he could just vacate on their ass. He didn't need a belt. You need a belt, okay? That you always talking about the belts, you need them. So if you're gonna hold these belts, be more active. We can't even bring up, oh, he got mandatories and blah blah, and you know, that's not even discussable, okay? And then, you know, he's talking about how, you know, Devin Alexander's looking like a good opponent for his comeback. And I don't know, man. I just want to see this guy in here with the best. I was a supporter of Keith Thurman. I was one of the guys that really, I'm like, you know, I don't want to be too quick to just, you know, jump on him. I want to see what he's going to do. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it's getting harder for anybody that's a supporter of Keith Thurman to support this behavior. You know, you're talking about, it's not, we can't even discuss, we can't even talk about the fight. Like, you talking about tune-ups, you know you gonna smash these guys. So yeah, and you sound so eager to get in there with Sean Porter. You know, he's talking about how hard Sean Porter's worked to make himself a mandatory and all this. You know, so you obviously know that in your opinion, that Sean Porter's food for you at this point. We seen how he looked in his last fight. Sean Porter is slowing down. The book is out on how to defeat this guy. Okay? And it is what it is, man. You know, you're talking about all this other stuff, how Danny Garcia raised your status or whatever. Come on, man. It is what it is, man. But anyway, this is Sense 93 Sports. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get notified when all my latest content drops. And I'm out.